This following video may contain spoilers for the film. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, this is Dragon Videos and I hope you're having some wonderful holidays. I decided to pull up at least maybe one more video before the new year and I hope things will get better. So again, this is going to be another symbolism film, which means I'm going to discuss more about the hidden symbols that reside in one particular film. The famous Wolfwalkers, made by Cartoon Saloon. It focuses on two girls, one called Robin, a young English girl who decides to help her father out with the wolf hunting, and who meets a wild girl named Mab, who is actually a wolfwalker, a mythical being that has the power to take on the form of a wolf when the human body is asleep. It's a very cool and enlightening story, and I decided to discuss some of the hidden concepts in the film. It wouldn't be Wolfwalkers if I didn't talk about the wolves first. So here's how there's some symbolism to it. So you see, it starts off with Robin and her father kind of having issues at the beginning. Don't get me wrong, they have a good relationship. They really care for one another, and they're just trying to do what's best for their livelihood, considering they're in Ireland, which is filled with hostile natives, or in their term, hostile natives. And they have to follow the Lord Protector's rule in order to maintain their whatever freedom they have. Though the thing is that the moment those two encountered wolves, the Irish wolves as well as the Wolfwalkers, Robin finally finds herself in a whole new outlook on life. She meets Mab, and when she takes the Wolfwalker powers, she finds a newfound freedom she never dreamed possible. This also gives her the idea of what it really means to be free versus her life being trapped in a cage, being a maid, under the rules of the supposed Lord Protector. The Lord Protector has been setting up rules and regulations that make her and her father afraid for their lives and fearing for the worst. So personally, I feel like wolves in the literal sense kind of represent nature, the things that are wondrous, and even the things that we still want to look out into. And personally, I do feel like in the case with these sorts of wolves, the fun fact is, they have been in Ireland before. It wasn't until the 1800s is when they were officially extinct. People viewed them as a nuisance, and these wolves were just part of nature that existed long before the idea of farming came into play. And another thing that I feel like is being played on in terms of Wolfwalker is that it can symbolize people outside of normal cultures, that beliefs that are different from our own, or even cultures that are different from our own. The wolves could represent some of that culture that makes us feel uncomfortable, because in most media and fairy tales, wolves are always viewed as the bad guys, as strange beings that feel like they should not exist, which is no different from the druids that once existed in Ireland, or those that have claimed to be druids. So I feel like with the wolves, they could also represent people that are of different culture, different race, everything that is outside of what we originally believe in. Another thing that I like to bring up attention is that on the positive note, wolves can symbolize courage as well as victory and loyalty. The thing is, with all of these prospects, this is what embodies more about Robin's character over time. She's not only loyal to her father and to her newfound friend Map, but she's also trying to take things into the courage she needs to face against the Lord Protector's rules. The same goes for Robin's father. In the beginning, he was very fearful for his daughter's life and had to accept the rules that the Lord Protector established into Kennedy Ireland. However, the more that he was exposed to being a wolfwalker, the more he realizes just how wrong everything was. The rules, the town itself, everything he once believed in felt more like a lie more than anything else. So, it was by then he finally had the heart to actually face off of the Lord Protector in order to protect the daughter as well as the wolves of Ireland. Mostly because it just embodies him finally overcoming his own personal fears to face off the Lord Protector. So, as some of you have remembered that scene when Mab took down the tapestry that had the black wolf on it, there was a weird sense of irony when the two, Goodman and the Lord Protector, were facing off. If you noticed, the Lord Protector was always on the right side of the screen, while Goodman was on the left, the same positions as that of a tapestry, and the wolf was taken down from that picture. We all thought it would be the wolves that would die, but it was actually the Lord Protector. And this is probably a big metaphor of who he is. The Lord Protector, as far as we knew, was a very beastly man, trying to use the will of the Lord to cleanse Ireland of the darkness that resides in it, or the so-called darkness, which were the wolves. He wanted nothing more than to eradicate them and maintain the so-called order that he clawed his way into the lives of Ireland. This is actually based on a real-life historical figure named Oliver Cromwell, who had ruled Ireland with an iron fist and mercilessly killed the Irish people who went against his beliefs. He wasn't as tolerant. He would only prefer Puritan beliefs more than anything else. And even Winston Churchill hated him. That's right, a very famous historical figure hated him with a passion. So he also had a sword with him. The swords usually represent power, and in some ways the Lord Protector kept staring into the sword. It represented his power and control. The control over the people, doing it in the so-called will of the Lord. While with Goodman, when he shattered that sword, it represented the shatter of the Lord Protector's power. Another thing that we should also pay attention is the color of red that was placed in here. The color of red usually represents war, as well as it also represents bloodlust. And bear in mind, this is probably the closest thing I could do as a bit tame anyway. The reason why I say that is because with the garments, the red usually represents that color, and it represents the true bloodthirsty nature the Lord Protector had over the people. He never did it for the sake of his beliefs. He only did it for the sake of having some form of control over the people, as well as, he wasn't a king per se, but whatever power he had was the closest to it, and he wanted to maintain it by any means necessary. So in a lot of ways, the black wolf in the image of the tapestry represented the beastly nature that the Lord Protector had, and in some ways, Lord Protector represents the people who have been cruelly ruling over others or darkness in human nature. Okay, I know what all of you are asking. Why on earth is this a little relevant to the movie? Well, if some of you have paid attention, there were at least 2 white horses presented in this film. We had seen one mostly on the back being ridden by the Lord Protector, always wearing a suit of armor. But here's the thing, I'm gonna go over mostly the color of the horse because I felt like it symbolized something. The horses could also symbolize courage, strength, as well as, I guess, progression, which means that in some ways, this represents the characters moving forward. So with white, it represents innocence, or in some cases, cowardice in a negative aspect. In the case with Robin and her father, they were innocent people only just trying to do their jobs. As well as with the Lord Protector, he had his horse armored, as well as the Lord Protector being armored himself. This represents the stone cold nature that is presented by the Lord Protector, and in some ways he may be a little bit of a coward. Though that idea is a little far-fetched, somehow his horse seems to have some of that feared progression, that cowardly progression that came with it. At the tail end of the movie, when Robin, Mab, and Mab's mother, as well as Bill Goodfellow, who was now a full-fledged wolfwalker, were all arriving to their new home with a carriage being pulled by a pure white horse covered in vines and flowers. This represented the innocence that Robin and her father have regained over time, as well as that Mab and her mother were basically innocent victims against a very cruel society. So these are my thoughts about the film as well as what they represent. If you feel like there's another certain symbols that I may have overlooked, please feel free to put that in the comments below. If you feel like there's other films that I should look into in terms of symbolism, please feel free to comment about that. Also do a subscribe, do a like, and more importantly, remember to stay safe for the holidays and pray that things will get better from there. Oh, and before I forget, Merry Christmas, everyone!